Hello and welcome back to the Franchise Growth Pod. My name is Belle, Director of Marketing here at AC Inc. And today I am here with our incredible course facilitator, Stephanie. How's it going, Steph?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm good. Oh my gosh, thank you for asking. I'm doing great. It's actually been a really successful day so far, which is always a good feeling. What about you?
Same, and it's a Monday, so I will take a successful Monday to start a week off any day of the week.
Oh, first of all, that doesn't make sense, but I know
Any day of the month. That's what, you know what I mean? Any day of the year. Look, okay, see, now I'm already like off, but you know what? I'll take it. It's still Monday. Things are still moving the way that I needed them to be. You know what I meant?
like I can't speak properly, but everything else in the day is going great.
I never can speak properly. That's why I'm always amazed when you're like, "Oh, you should be on this podcast." And I'm like, me?
Blah, 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 blah. Well, welcome back to the pod. So happy to have you back. I am going to kick off today's episode with a super fun icebreaker question. I almost said groundbreaker. Steph, we need a minute. We need a coffee. We need something. Groundbreaker. An icebreaker question. We start off all our episodes like this. It's a great way to get to know the team, just kind of kick off with something fun. The icebreaker today, it's a little bit different. It's kind of a longer one, like more of an interesting, it's one that like I had to look up to find. I didn't like come up with it. And it is, if you won any game show and you want, like your prize at the end was you won a lifetime supply of something, but it can't be money. What do you think yours would be? And I have an answer to this one too, actually, for this time.
I'm so practical. I immediately go to like, what do I want a lifetime supply of? Right. So
that is the question. So that's good. That's where you're bringing.
I know, right? But I like, yeah. So, okay, something practical is paper towels because I have to clean up stuff all the time. And so I just feel like I'm doing those. But apples, a lifetime supply of apples would be good because you can make like a million things with apples. And apples are good every time of year. And again, both practical. I'm a nerd. I don't know.
Here's the thing, both also not crazy expensive or anything.
Right. It's the worst. Everybody else is like gold bars probably, right? And I'm like, paper towels. What's not going to junk up my life?
Or like tech or something that you could resell and like make money off of. You know what? I'm going to stick with a little bit less of like a money-making scheme because I think that's kind of trying to cheat the question. I think my answer for this would be books. Lifetime supply of any book you want. And I'm a big Kindle gal. So it's not even like books when you buy them on your Kindle are like crazy expensive, but it is tough sometimes because sometimes I'll want to be like, oh, I just heard about this one. I should just grab it. But then, if it's $10, $15 every time, that adds up like pretty quick. So I think that would be mine because it would be great to just have like an overflowing library.
I think that's a perfect one. I actually love that one. And now I want to steal that one because I didn't realize, but like the amount of books my entire family goes through is so much.
Like, it's a lot. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And like kids books, I hadn't even thought like, cause you go through those so fast too. And then some of them you like keep forever. And then others, it's like kids are not interested in them after a while. Like that's also a good reason to have them. Okay, great. You can steal that answer. Don't say apples next time. But I agree. And actually, I have been really craving like an apple crumble lately. I love an apple crumble.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely that time of year. Yeah, it's gonna have to happen.
I'm into it. I'm a big fall girl, so I'm very excited about all things baked apples. I think I like baked apples more than pumpkins, actually. Like if we're talking pie, or do you agree? You can't nod on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know, gosh, I know. It's the facial. Yes, I totally agree. Apples all the way every time. Like pumpkin's okay, but I don't get the pumpkin spice craze. Yeah, I'm giving apple everything.
Yeah, I would agree. I also just prefer pies with ice cream over whipped cream. And I feel like pumpkin pie you have with whipped cream, apple pie you have with ice cream.
Concur. Yeah. 100% concur. Yep.
Nice. Okay. Well, we've kind of touched on several fun things. So let's hop into the bulk of today's episode, which is communicating effectively with franchisees. And specifically, we're going to be talking about so exciting I'm trying to doing something with my hands. I don't know, like drum roll, explosions. Very exciting announcement, which is that we have an academy course coming in November, and Stephanie will be facilitating as usual. Absolutely crushing it in the facilitation of these amazing online live courses. But this is our last academy course available in 2023, and then we have a full content calendar available on fieldcoachexperts.com/academy. There's like a full content calendar there for the first half of 2024. So you can look ahead at all of the upcoming courses, but for 2023, this is our last one. I'll just give Steph, I think before we dive into, because I want to get a bunch of your thoughts and just insights into what people are going to learn in the course, why communication is really valuable, how people can kind of think about communication differently from the field coaching perspectives. We're going to get into all of that. But I am just going to spend a minute just going over a couple of the course basics. So just what it's called, how it works, when it is, all of that. So the course that we're running and that Steph is running, I'm not doing anything, I'm just doing this podcast. The course that Steph is running is course 102 in the Academy. In the Academy, if you haven't been listening to the podcast in a while or haven't been following us on LinkedIn, we have launched a full curriculum of courses. These are live online courses. So they're not pre-recorded webinars. These are live interactive courses. Almost every course in the full curriculum is 3 weeks long. There is one 90-minute session per week for the course. And you work towards getting level 1, level 2, or level 3 certified with each course. Super exciting, never been done in the industry before. It's a franchise first, and we're super proud to be putting out this really, really premier content. So for the course, though, that's coming up, it is course 102. You do not need to take these courses in order. The only one that needs to be taken in order is, of course, at the end of all your level 1 courses, there is a certification course, level 111 is the course name. And that one is the one where you can showcase all of the knowledge that you have learned through the other courses, and you get to work on case studies, and it's a lot more interactive and showcasing your knowledge. But other than that, all the rest of the courses you can take at your pleasure, whatever works best for your schedule. So this is course 102. It's called Effective Communication Foundations. Starts on November 7th. It runs for 3 weeks, as I said, so you can get it done all in November, which is awesome. And there is one 90-minute session per week on Tuesdays. You can get all those details on our website, but just thought I would give the basics. And this, of course, is going over communication, but specifically communication as a field coach who works with franchisees. This is also one of those courses, just in case anyone's wondering, that's really helpful even if you're not a field coach, because it just speaks to working with franchisees and getting the most out of all your interactions, whether you do marketing support for franchisees or are a franchisor. This is also going to be really valuable for that. So let's talk about communication with franchisees and how that's a bit different when you're working on coaching a franchisee or working with them and supporting them. How is that different than just, I mean, if I heard the term, communication course, I'd be like, I know a lot about communication already. I know how to talk to people. But what are we talking about when we say those words, when we're speaking in context to field coaching?
Yeah. So exactly like you said, it's communication in the context of being a business coach and not necessarily a consultant, right? So when we think about maybe how a consultant would approach something, they're doing a lot of talking to, a lot of telling, a lot of this is how you do it, showing everything, right? And just guiding everything very, very detailed. Like, this is how you're going to do it. And these are the rules, right? A coach is a little different. And that's really what we see in the franchising world. And that's really communicating to understand the franchisees why, to dig a little bit deeper, to get them to think a lot more, right? And to solve their own problem, to think a little bit more analytically about their business, those kind of things, so that they're solving problems ahead of time and we're not repeating the same conversations, the same issues, or, activities that we have to do for the business over and over and over. Instead, we're elevating the thought process of a franchisee in their business.
Okay, first of all, excellent description of what we were talking about. And but also the thing that I heard the loudest in that is the coaching is communicating so that the franchisee is thinking more strategically. It's not telling someone how to do something. It's coaching them how to think about a problem so that they themselves can solve it. So we're trying to make these franchisees better business owners. Even if they are great business owners, make them optimize their businesses even further, look at their goals from an even bigger perspective. There's all these ways that we can be looking at this, but that is that communication difference. Is it's not just saying, here's how you do something, or like, here's the answer. It's really communicating so that the franchisee themselves is like they are becoming more strategic. They are looking at things differently, and then they are able to solve those problems on their own with that coaching support, again, from the field coach. So I think that's a really good thing to keep in mind as we go through the rest of what people are going to be learning from the course, is just understanding that it's a different type of, it's not just, speaking well with people or like, having a good repertoire or whatever. It's not really about that. It's actually about how to communicate from that coaching perspective specifically. Maybe can you walk me through? So I know there's going to be 3 sessions. We're getting through a lot of content each session, but there's also that interactive element. And I know that some of the things that are going to be talked about are things like active listening, effective questioning. So like prompting really, really good questions and thought processes, and then finding out the franchisee's why, as you said. Those are just some of the lessons they're going to get out of the course. Talking about the franchisee's why, maybe just expand a little bit on what that's going to look like. Because I think, we talk a lot about the value of why, but what are some of the tangible things they're going to get out of that session?
Well, we really want to dig into their why and their understanding, because that's really the root of a lot of effective coaching conversations, right? Is rooting back to their why, whether they're having maybe really high success levels and we want to go back and hone in on the why and why it's successful for their purpose of the business, or maybe when something's going a little wrong or it's slower, why do we want to keep going and what was the purpose of starting, right? So digging in and understanding not only their why, but how they operate as a franchisee and a business owner, right? Because getting to better understand them and their operation, their why, right, makes you a better business coach, makes you a more effective communicator as a business coach. So we have to start there. We have to start with that foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one thing you were mentioning to me a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this was talking about the not just the value of knowing your franchisee's why, but actually looking at like, how do you get that out of a franchisee? How do you have those conversations, right? Say like, why did you start your business, right? Like that's a good starting point, but to really figure out, as you said, not just, what made them start, what's their purpose, what are their goals, why are they doing this, but then also how do they operate, right? What is their why in terms of the way that they specifically think, or the way that they're looking at their business and they analyze it, or are they just really in that operation still? And that's really where they're at, right? But really digging into all those different levels, because as you said, all those conversations tie right back to those same foundational pieces. So seeing the tangible examples of that, I think will be really awesome for that first session. Maybe give us just a few other kind of specifics that people are going to get out of some of the other sessions. I know we don't want to give away too much, but what are some other lessons that people can expect from taking the course?
Well, like you mentioned, Belle, from there, we really have to dig into the 2 other things that we need as far as effective communication with our franchisees. And it's active listening and then digging into those thought-provoking questions. And so it's not just discussing them and learning about it, it's techniques, right? What is active listening and how do we go about it? What are techniques that we want to use? What's the verbiage we want to use, even down to body language, right? What is the body language that we're using, telling that franchisee whether we're open or not, whether we hear them, whether we're really relating to them, or we're there for our own purpose, right? So it's the techniques that are all the way down to the active listening, as well as those thought-provoking questions. What are the questions that we ask? How do we dig? When do we dig? Right? To just really get them to understand themselves and kind of come up with the answers themselves, right? It's that whole theory of how do we teach a man to fish, right? Instead of providing that fish for him all the time. Get him out there learning, doing it for themselves instead of providing it for them constantly. Because then the next thing we get to teach them, right, is something deeper, something better, instead of going back to the rudimentary stuff all the time.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm really excited for everyone who's taking this course. So, speaking of people who are interested, I mentioned already that this would be a really, really great course, even if you are not in that field coaching role. Jen and I actually were talking about that last week too. We were talking about how the communication course specifically is such an awesome one for anyone who engages regularly with franchisees. However, a lot of it is really based towards that coaching relationship. So that's going to be really valuable for people who are field coaches and who are looking for that specific those specific strategies and tools. But for people who want to get involved, I was going to mention we're having actually a capped cohort this time around. So do you want to speak to just the value of having just a small group that can really interact a lot? I know that was something you were really, really passionate about as we were building out this course.
Yeah, it's something I'm really passionate about because I feel like these workshop style courses are really where people get value. I think that's where people get the most in their education is learning from one another. It's being able to dive a little deeper and ask questions, not be afraid to ask questions, to bring their own situations in that are relevant so we can pick them apart and kind of analyze them retrospectively, right? And learn from them. So what's great about having a cap is that we can make sure that everybody gets a little bit more time to have that, to get that value, to dig a little deeper. We can see everybody's faces interacting. We can call on everyone. We can, just really make sure that the interactivity is there because that's where the learning comes from, is us from each other, both giving and receiving just experience and yeah, best practices all the way around the board, on top of the cool tools and techniques that we're going to be able to provide in the session itself.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm really, really stoked. I think it's going to be such an awesome one and such a great way to round out the year. So for people who want to get involved, register, find out a few more details, you can head to fieldcoachexperts.com/academy for all the details. But as we said, the capped registration is at 25 participants this time around. And I do know, I think we're almost halfway done actually, halfway full, which is super exciting. So if you are interested in, getting involved, please head and check out all the details. At the time of this episode being put out, we may have even opened up a second one, like a second session day. So please keep an eye out for that as well. So go get registered pretty much is what we're saying, because we are really keeping it very, very intimate this time and very interactive focused. The question I wanted to end off with was talking about the level 1 certification. So we kind of talked about how this course will, you don't have to take it in the exact order. And that's one thing that we definitely wanted to make sure we had them numbered so you kind of could see which courses were which, but then also not feeling like you have to take 101, then 102, then 103. So this is going to work you towards your level 1 certification. And your level 1 certification is a lifetime certification, which is very exciting. It's really built to be all the foundations of strategic growth coaching, the actual method of coaching franchisees, as well as the communication, as well as the certification process. So actually applying a lot of this into your case studies. So I just wanted to mention that, again, we don't have to take them in order, and that it really does go specifically towards that level 1 certification, which is lifetime, which is awesome. Just trying to think if there's anything else we want to make sure people are aware of before they go get registered. Anything on your mind, Steph?
No, it's the last chance for this year before the courses open up for next year. So I would definitely say to get signed up and be prepared to participate, right?
Yeah.
To have conversations and to dig deep. It's not just a push play and sit on. It's definitely a lot of discussion and interaction, and that's where you're going to get the value. Is make sure you come for yourself too, right? You set up the time. That's something I always say in the beginning of our courses. If you make the time to dedicate to yourself, then make the time to dedicate to yourself. Just like you would respect your franchisee or your team member, respect your own time too.
I love that. That's such a great tip, especially for as we're finishing up here. So for anyone who is interested in the course, as I mentioned, head to our website and get all the details, go register. And if you want to connect with us on LinkedIn, if you want to talk to Steph, talk to me about any of this, please find us on LinkedIn. Find us all through AC Inc. At the company page. We're all linked there. But we're always happy to answer questions and stuff as well. I think that is it for the day. We are going to get back to our productive day. Hopefully still be able to speak somewhat smoothly after the end of this podcast. And we will catch you all next week. Until then, go be awesome.